Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Aussie Rollcall podcast. In this episode, we look at the relationship between TTRPGs and music. We are joined by musician, streamer, and fellow TTRPG nerd Lachlan from LNL Covers. We talk about how he got into music making, how they discovered TTRPGs, and when they began to merge the two together. We talk about homebrew and how to start making music of your own, and so much more. We also caught up with Michael O'Brien, one of the owners of Chaosium at Conquest, and have a raft of news to share, including crowdfunding campaigns, upcoming events, and newly released games. So, without further ado, let's jump into the episode now. Welcome back to the Aussie Roll Call podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stevie, and I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Dan.
Hi.
And our wonderful guest, Lachlan from LNL Covers. Lachlan, would you like to tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as said, I'm Lachlan from LNL Covers, or people call me all sorts of names on the internet. I make music for a variety of creators and TTRPGs online. I stream on Twitch. I entertain folks, and I just do all sorts of things, whether that's creating homebrew or just having a good time.
Amazing. So tell us about the kinds of music you make for TTRPG projects. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about character theme songs? Are we talking about intros to live streams? What kind of things do you create?
Yeah, I mean all of the above, to be honest. So my most recent work would have been with Castleton, so the hit online series by Winter's Tales, where I created a lot of the background music, the break music, a character theme or two here and there, and then just other music to go along with everything that was happening at the time for that series. And also, for content creators online, just making themes for, Twitch intros, YouTube intros, relaxing music for Split the Party TV in terms of having something for their charity events or for their online series Split the Party. So it really just comes down to what people are after and what people want. And I just do the best I can and collaborate with them to create something unique and interesting.
That is all so amazing because I think music and atmosphere and all of that is a very underrated element of live plays and intros and whatnot. So the fact that you're sort of like in that niche is amazing. So how did you get to this point?
A long story on both for music and TTRPGs. When I first started music, I was, I believe, 6 years old, playing keyboard at there used to be a a big van that would come to our school and take students. They'd have a keyboard set up in the back of these, like this bus van type thing, and we would just learn how to play music and get the opportunity to learn how to play keyboard. So that was the very beginning of a very long musical career and learning. Then that went from there to playing saxophone, to teaching myself how to play ukulele, to taking music theory lessons during school, and then coincidentally finding folks in the TTRPG space through complete circumstance and coincidence, and people accidentally mistaking me for somebody else, or the circumstances of how I met a particular individual, which is Matt Briefcase Brown from Split the Party. And that's how I got into music for TTRPGs, is that I was given an opportunity very randomly because I gave out a business card at PAX and I was mistaken for somebody else, but I was given the opportunity to make music for someone. In terms for TTRPGs, I accidentally got into TTRPGs as a kid when my dad gave me a big box, like a crate full of old books, and I found these books that had really interesting and fantastical covers on them, and it turned out that was Dragonlance.
The ancient tomes.
the ancient tomes. And he was like, I don't know if these are the first ones of the series, and I read through them, and they were really interesting because they are the first in the series, but they take place almost partway through the character arc from the very get-go. It's like you're dropping in on these people that already exist within the world, and I found that really fascinating. And then years and years later, I remember, learning about and hearing about Dungeons and Dragons, and then getting the opportunity when my friend was like, I bought the starter set for D&D 5e. Do you want to play? And I went, absolutely. And I made my first character, and he was really silly and very cool at the same time, and a bit of a wet blanket. And then immediately after doing that starter set, I went, I'll be a DM for the next game, and bought one of the worst books I've ever read by Wizards of the Coast, which was Princes of the Apocalypse, which is notoriously poorly written in terms of how that book resolves, and then homebrewing half of it, and then just continuing that journey of coincidences and letting those two things kind of fall into each other.
That is so fascinating, and
I
it's
was going to say, I love how you've just pinballed into this place you find yourself now.
Yeah, it really was just a coincidence of, having a van come to a school, which sounds sketchy, but it was,
does sound very
like a great
sketchy.
opportunity. It does. And then my dad just giving me a book that kind of propelled me many, many years down the line to where I am now.
Amazing. Now tell us about the name LNL Covers.
Well, the name is one of my saxophone teachers in secondary school called me Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which is a reference to a movie which is probably inappropriate for the time, um, for my age of when I was being called that. But it got me when I started my YouTube channel. Got me thinking about the name I wanted to make my YouTube channel. So I thought, Locked and Loaded. But I didn't spell it correctly. I spelled it LACH''D, which, if you know anything about the internet, is just not searchable in any way, shape, or form. So after like a period of time, I shortened it to LNL, but there was so many people already using that acronym. And so then I went, well, let's put one extra thing at the end. I'm going to make cover songs. I'm going to do things that cover interesting topics. I'm going to make videos that cover themes, and et cetera, et cetera. So then it was LNL Covers. So that was just how the name kind of came to be. But in terms of making music and the discographies and such, I just started. It's weird because people will always give you the advice, just try and just do it. And I just had I don't know, a fixation at the time, or an impulse to create a song and put it on YouTube and see how it would go and see if I could do it. So I bought an old Samson Meteor mic, which is this tiny little micro USB terrible microphone that picks up sound from all direction. I played saxophone into it, and I made a cover of Lavender Town from Pokemon Red and Blue. And then I went, that's really cool. Let me see if I can do other music that I like. And then I did. And then I made a few more songs. And then I made a few more songs. And then I got some better equipment. And then made a few more. Went to university, made less. And then after getting out of university, I made more. And then I just kept, I just kept the ball rolling as best I could while balancing the rest of my life. And then I just really like video games. I like pop culture. I think that's not too uncommon for people within this area.
And liking pop culture meant that you ended up at PAX, you ended up giving out your business card and being mistaken for someone else, which has led you to making music for the TTRPG space. So
Yeah.
the interest in nerdy things has definitely opened more doors.
Oh, for sure. And I think there's the saying that it's, I can't quite remember the exact phrasing, but along the lines of like it's all luck, but it's not all luck. It's also being prepared for when you get lucky. So, I just happened to have, I prepared myself to have business cards, and that coincidentally got me somewhere. And then I was prepared enough with the expertise that I had to be able to market myself. So it's it's a little bit of luck, the fact that I met Matt and all of these wonderful people in the TTRPG space and got invited to a few extra things, but I was prepared enough to be able to take that opportunity and roll with it. So I think luck and preparedness go hand in hand.
They sure do. I am here at Conquest 2025 with Michael, who is one of the owners of Chaosium. How are you enjoying your con today so far, Michael?
I'm having a great time, despite the fact that it's 9 o'clock
Editing
on Sunday
Stevie
morning.
here. We had a little bit of a snafu with the live recording of this one. I kept peeking the microphone. So I am going to be splicing in the questions with Michael's genuine answers, but apologies for the slight choppiness of the different qualities of audio. Without further ado, here we go. What is your favourite tabletop snack?
My favourite tabletop snack, salt and vinegar chips.
What is your favourite dice size and shape?
It's the D100 because all of our games use that as its core.
Let's just say you had a brand new player to TTRPGs. What game would you introduce them to?
Oh, absolutely, it's Call of Cthulhu. It's a very, very simple game to learn. You can learn how to play it in 2 minutes. And because it's set in the real world, it's pretty easy to understand the core concepts. Of course, horrible things tend to happen.
You've got your snacks, you've got your dice, you've got your game. What else do you think you need to have to make a great gaming experience?
Well, we do actually have solo scenarios, so you don't actually even need any friends. But really, grab some people, sit down and have some fun. A lot of stuff you can just pick up and play.
And finally, if you could have sort of any little companion animal or robot or familiar, what would that be?
In the world of Glorantha, which is the setting of the game RuneQuest, there are baboons, but they're intelligent baboons who could speak. And I would like to have an intelligent baboon who could be my friend.
Moving back into the TTRPG music sort of scene, what has been some of your favourite projects to work on and what has made them really special to you?
That is always a tough question.
Tell us which one your favourite child is.
In front of them.
Yes, in front of them. Oh man. I'm gonna point two particular ones out. There was a mini series on Split the Party TV, and I keep going back to Split the Party TV, but really I've had the most opportunities there than anywhere else to craft music for someone and collaborate. But there was a mini series called Teens in Space. I think it's back to the Spylux. I have to get the exact name up. But I made a song and I did it live on Twitch with the creator of that series and some of the players in the chat. And I was playing around on my keyboard and happened across a tune, and you could see the moment when that theme came into place for that song. And the people that were involved in that project went, yes, that's it. Immediately, keep going down that path because I think you're onto something. And that was something that's I want to relive that right now. And then there is a song from Castleton that I made for the credits theme. That it's the only song as of this recording where I've lent my vocals to an original song. So I wrote the lyrics and I sung it myself. I've sung and recorded my voice before for music for other songs, but it's never been my own work in terms of something that I've written. So that holds a special place in my heart for sure. And Teens in Space get to the Spylux. There we go.
Fantastic. And so, what advice would you have for anyone who, say, is a musician and wants to move into this kind of space of creating, specifically music for TTRPG projects? Do you have any advice for people wanting to do something similar to you?
It's kind of hard because I really want to go down that classic stereotypical answer of kind of just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be anywhere big. It doesn't have to be it could be humming a tune and recording it on your phone and making music. It could be making music for yourself. It could be recording a theme or starting, in cover songs for your favorite RPG video game. It could be something as simple as humming that and just recording yourself. But the important place is to start so that you can learn from it and you can take strides from that point, because if you don't make a start, you don't have a starting point, and so you can't progress. So just make something, and then if you enjoy it and you want to keep going. And or find, if you want to do it and you're not finding joy in it, find some part of it that gives you joy and pursue that, and then start thinking about how you can apply that to TTRPGs. Or alternatively, make a bard character if you're in something, But you look at Critical Role and Sam Riegel, who was very much kind of a quintessential bard. He just makes limericks and makes parody songs for his character Scanlan, and he enjoys that, and that's his thing. But you can make parody songs, or you can make real songs and incorporate them, and that's just as an important part of creating music for TTRPGs, is you're creating limerick and rhyme and lyric. So start somewhere and build from there. It is just the hardest part is starting. It is always the hardest part.
It is, especially if you get caught up in the idea that something needs to be perfect, because the first time you do anything, it is never going to be perfect. That is fantastic advice.
The notion of perfect, it just reminded me of something, which is there is something for content creation online that something is 90% is good enough, which sounds counterintuitive. But very genuinely, that last 10% is going to take you, if you're making content, that last 10% is always the percent that takes the longest, and yet only less than 1% of people that goes out to will notice the difference. You can notice the difference, but if you're struggling to get something out and you're like, well, it's 90% there and I could spend more time on it, but I get lost in the sauce, just send it out. So, yeah. Bit of a tangent, but you reminded me of something.
No, it's a great tangent. Speaking of tangents, we've heard about your first introduction to D&D related media with your dad's Dragonlance novels, and then you picking up Princes of the Apocalypse, and it not being the best introduction into DMing. Do you have a favorite gaming related memory?
That is a very tricky question, because there's a lot of memories that I have for TTRPG things. I think one of my favorites, which is it doesn't involve anyone else, which is usually favorite memories are I had this very, very epic moment in this game that I played and we all had a very roarous laughter. But there is a moment. I recently gotten a new job, and I had to, not commute, but live in a different city for a month for the induction period of that job, which is at the time was very foreign to me. Just all of a sudden moving away for just 1 month. But I remember that was the moment I got into Critical Role, and I started it. But also that was the moment that I went, oh, this homebrew stuff, I could I could do that. That seems really easy. Which, it is and it isn't. But I just remember getting a small little book that I took with me, just like an A6 hand pamphlet kind of book. And I had a pen with me, and I just went, oh, I can draw a map. Let's just draw a map. And so I started drawing in this book that became a homebrew world that I played in for the next 5 months, but sitting in a room that wasn't my own, in a city that I I'd never lived in before, but still having this tie to something that I'd been doing for a while at that point, and just being satisfied with the fact that no matter where I was, I could still be creative, and no matter what I was doing, I could still formulate ideas and be within the TTRPG space, and just be myself. So I think that's a very particular memory that I have of just this little brown leather bound A6 notebook, sketching a map which would turn out to be a world that I would live in for the next 5 years and then beyond.
That is a very unique gaming related memory, and I don't think we've had anything quite like it. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Lachlan, what are your future plans? What's coming up in the near future for you and all of your musical wonderfulness?
I always have many, many albums planned. I'm currently working on an album that I made 10 years ago, and I'm remaking it because, it's always good to see how you progress. So hopefully that will be out by the end of this year. I'm working on a Banjo-Kazooie cover album because I do love Banjo-Kazooie. I'll be at various events this year, so I'll be at PAX, and hopefully if things get approved, I might be able to be talking at PAX about music and TTRPGs, how the things meld so well together, if that stuff gets approved. But otherwise, my TTRPG endeavors, I am working on some homebrew at the moment that I'm hoping to at least get some progress on and have a larger spotlight on soon. So I'm in play testing for. I've written most of a book, which is something of like 250 pages at the moment of homebrew for D&D.
Wow, are you planning on publishing that?
Yeah, it's definitely in the play testing stage at the moment. So I've been working on that, and I'll be releasing those play tests online on Twitch and on YouTube sometime in June, July. So hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have something more substantial to be able to announce to the public. But keep that in mind if you're a big fan of homebrew or just want some more D&D content in general.
Amazing. How drastically did the 2024 rules update affect the creation of this homebrew, or was it pretty minor and didn't really affect you that much at all?
It hurt me. It hurt me so much. It wasn't too bad. It kind of. They meld well enough together that it works relatively simply. But because I've been working on my own class for D&D, introducing the witch and a bunch of subclasses into D&D, it does mean that there are things like weapon mastery that you all of a sudden have to take into consideration, and level progression, where things that you say like, oh, don't worry, you'll get your subclasses at first level, and then have some things based on the subclasses, and it's like, nope, D&D doesn't like subclasses at first level anymore, so you're going to have to move some things around. And also just making sure things are compatible between the two. That's the trickiest part. I think like playtesting in both means kind of you've doubled your workload, but if it works in 2014, it's a pretty good chance it'll work in 2024.
Well, we'll look out for all of those projects coming down the pipeline. Dan, did you have any questions before we move into the Fast Five?
Not at all. Just wanted to say I've been listening to your Pokemon album all day today, and it was very fun.
Oh, thank you so much.
It brought a bit of nostalgia to me.
Oh, that was a very long project. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it, and I'm glad that people are listening to it. It brings joy to my heart.
My poor students had no idea what I was bopping to, because obviously it's like 20 years after they were born, but still.
They'll figure it out one day.
No, those uncultured youth know nothing of the...
They know nothing of the old ways.
Hey, they'll eventually release Pokemon Red and Blue for the 7th time. They'll figure it out.
They will figure it out. Amazing. Well, Lachlan, if you are ready, shall we move into the Fast Five?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What is the best gaming table snack?
I do not like snacks for myself. So I am going to say, for myself, a cup of tea is a great gaming snack because it's good for the voice.
I'll accept it.
Yeah,
Sounds
great.
pretty good to me. Now, second question. This is a two-parter. What is your favorite dice? Now, this could be dice size, so like a D20, D12, etc., or dice set. Let's just say you have a special set that you particularly enjoy.
I think it's going to be a particular set. It's my very first D&D set. It's just a standard Chesek plastic rainbow set, but it holds a very special place in my heart because that's the starting point, and I still have them, and they're still intact, and they're still going well.
Marvelous.
It's sweet.
Yeah. And let's just say you've got a brand new player who's never played any sort of TTRPG before. What would be your favorite game to introduce that new player to?
If it's their first game, I think Kids on Bikes is a very, very wonderful way to learn how to play TTRPGs, or any of the kids in kids series of TTRPGs. There's something so marvelous about it, and simple, and so involved with the players as well as the dungeon master in crafting the story. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a really good answer, actually. Any of the Kids on, you are correct, are a great introductory game. Now, let's just say you've got your cup of tea, you've got your nostalgic set of dice, you've got a copy of Kids on Bikes or Kids on Brooms or whatever it is. What other thing do you think a tabletop must have in order for it to be a fantastic experience?
I think this is pretty in my ballpark when I say music. I think even if it's just something very subtle, even if it's one of those hour-long playlists of D&D music to play while you're walking through the woods, 1 hour-long session, something of that nature that you find online.
Most of us have a YouTube history with something like that in it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Several favorite lists, yes.
Get something going, because atmosphere and also those weird moments when the music doesn't quite match the atmosphere and you'll have a laugh. Those are the brilliant points of Dungeons and Dragons, of TTRPGs, that really stand out and make the experience that much deeper. So get yourself just a phone, a laptop, a $2 speaker from your favorite op shop, and get some nice fantasy or your favorite music to go along with the scene.
Yeah, I have my portable Bluetooth speaker that I absolutely love to bring to games, and it definitely elevates a game. It takes it from, good to great, especially when those moments when the music isn't discordant but actually matches what's happening really well. And your players ask, did you do that? You're like, nope, that just lined up naturally.
I was just going to amend one of my thoughts, which is also, if you're using some kind of online service such as Discord or Microsoft Teams, I don't know what the kids use these days, but
those young rascals on Teams.
Those whippersnappers. Don't forget, you can just share YouTube and have people listen to that in the background, or let people use their own music to light the scene. That's also an option.
Yeah, totally is. I think we had someone talking about how they had a character for some particular game, and they had 2 different genres of music playing in separate earbuds, and sometimes those genres would sync, and it was kind of spooky and also kind of fun.
That's really cool. That's a very Pink Floyd while you're watching Alice in Wonderland situation.
Yeah, for sure. Now, final question. If you could have a companion animal or a minion, robot, somewhat like a familiar in D&D 5e, what would it be? What would Lachlan's companion be?
I think if there was such a thing as a friendly gelatinous cube or some kind of cute slime friend, that would be for sure my companion. Only because I'm sure that they could just, I'd be like, oh man, I've eaten this candy bar. What am I going to do? Oh, look, my friendly companion right next to me could do with the leftovers. I'm sure they'd be able to dissolve this rubbish here and enjoy it. And so it's just all about recycling in the end.
Yeah, eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly.
Waste disposal is a big issue, and having something that could digest all of that waste would actually be pretty dang helpful.
So I said to you, Roomba is what I just heard.
Yeah, I'll change my answer to that.
Amazing. Now, Lachlan, where can people find out more about who you are and what you do? Where do you live on the internet?
You can find me, I think, just about anywhere, whether that's Twitch, Twitter, Blue Sky, Spotify, iTunes, any of your favorite music, any of your favorite YouTube. You can just find me under LNL Covers. You'll find me making music videos for the music that I releasing albums onto your favorite music streaming services and streaming on Twitch 3 days a week. So I'm everywhere and anywhere leads me to the other places. So if you can find me once, you can find me many more times.
Amazing. Well, it has been delightful to have you on, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future.
I look forward to hearing from both of you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lachlan.
Thank you so much.
First up in news is a crowdfunding campaign called To Speak in a Strange Wedding, a GM screen TTRPG. This comes to us from Small Red Robin 13 Games. This game is a risograph printed gatefold zine inspired by a real experience of the authors at a wedding. This zine is designed to act as a GM screen while also incorporating the game's central mechanic, which is sharing limited information with others to see how they'll interpret it and translate it. Each of the 3 players takes on a different role. One will play the host of the wedding, the other plays the interpreter, and the final player takes on the role of the foreigner. The host writes the initial speech and gives the interpreter some hints as to its contents, which the interpreter does their best to translate. Once they've given their best translation, the foreigner will record what they think the sentence is. This is a game not just for role players who have an interest in unique presentations and mechanics, but To Speak in a Strange Wedding also draws on party games such as Telephone and board games such as Pictionary. So you don't have to have a lot of experience with role-playing games. You'll still find To Speak at a Strange Wedding to be an interesting but accessible experience. So if you want to find out more about this game, the link to the crowdfunding campaign will be in the show notes. First up in event news, we have A Midsummer Night's Darkness, a Call of Cthulhu live play event. This is being put on by Tales from a Rat City and will follow suffragettes facing a horror in 1891 Victoria. Will they survive the night? This is taking place at the city of Ballarat and will last up to 3 hours and is based on A Midsummer Night's Darkness by Jane Routley. So if you want to find out more about this event and attend, we'll have a link to the tickets in the show notes. It will be taking place on the 22nd of May from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. In Queensland news, there is TabletopCon happening May 24th to 25th at the Southport Community Centre. It is touting itself as the ultimate destination for tabletop gaming enthusiasts on the Gold Coast. There'll be 2 days of exciting demonstrations of games in development or just newly released games from some of Australia's best game designers, as well as the opportunity to meet publishers, artists, and like-minded gamers. Whether you're a fan of RPGs, board games, war games, or card games, there's something for everyone at TabletopCon. We will put a link to the TabletopCon website in the show notes. And lastly, in event news, Chaosium Con is back in Australia. This will be running from the 27th to the 29th of June and will be at the Moonee Valley Racing Club. They have announced their international guests of honour as well as their local guests of honour. So if you would like to find out more information and work out where you can pick up your badge if you would like one, we will put a link to the con in the show notes. In new game release news, we have a new game from PJC called Only What You Can Carry. Only What You Can Carry is an open-world heist game played in quasi-real time. The game requires 1 heist master and 3 to 7 players. 2 to 3 hours are recommended depending on the number of players, so if you want to check out What You Can Carry, we will have a link to that game in the show notes. And lastly, in newly released game news, we have Worlds of Pure Imagination. This comes to us from Every Trick Book Games, and Worlds of Pure Imagination is a solo journaling game aimed at kids aged 7 and older. In this game, you make an explorer and set off on an adventure through the stars. Along the way, you will come across situations that challenge you to creatively come up with a solution while investigating the emotions behind it. All you need is this book, a deck of standard playing cards, a pencil or pen, and your imagination. The game is a print and play game with printer-friendly formats. So if you want to check out Worlds of Pure Imagination or any of the other things we've mentioned in the news this week, check out our show notes.
Some people have been asking us what the best thing they can do is to support the podcast. And honestly, it's rating and reviewing it wherever you're listening to it. It really does help us reach brand new audiences and other listeners just like you. TTRPGs are for everybody, and we want to reach as many people as possible. No matter where you're from, we want you to be part of the discussion, part of the roll call here at Aussie Roll Call.
This podcast is produced in affiliation with the Australian roleplay community. If you'd like to join the ARC community, head to arcrpg.org, where you'll find a link to our vibrant and inclusive Discord server. Your hosts have been Kate O'Sullivan, Dan Machuca, and Stevie Schaefer. Cover art by Helen Graham of Juimon Studios. Title music is Sweet Sunday Groove by Slailkey. Interstitial music is Newer Wave by Kevin MacLeod, used under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. Production by Stevie Schaefer.